understand. It never occurred to his eyes just opened. It never occurred to him, when, I'm driving around or having dinner in Bentonville or, in some other setting where I'm the only black person. It never occurred to him how that might make me feel. And he gained an understanding of that for the first time ever. Of course, Sean would kill me if he knew I told this story. So Julie, please.
No, can I put a fine point on that? For those of you who are not familiar with the Corporate Council Women of Color, it is an organization started by a young woman who is a vice president at CBS named Lori Robinson. It is a group of 2,300 minority female in-house counsel on a worldwide basis. We hold a conference every year in October, and the enrollment is limited to about 500 to 600 people. So your colleague is sitting in a room in Los Angeles, at the Los Angeles Hilton, with 575 women, 95% of which were black, and the other 5% were Hispanic and Asian, and there may have been 10 men in the whole room. Most of them were also African American. So when you say he was, that's the environment that he spent 2 days.
He said, I don't think those women like me. I said, Sean, sometimes they don't like me either, so I don't feel so bad. But the point is empathy, being able to understand, putting yourself in someone else's shoes.
And I'm going to go back to something that Mr. Duncan said. I don't know if y'all paid attention, but he made a comment that, it's not something that you're forced to do. It's something that's just innately on the inside. And when you talk about the bottom line, we can all look at numbers. I don't know if there's been any empirical studies that show whether diversity actually, how it affects the bottom line, because most of it's been anecdotal. But I think that if you take away the requirement that most corporate counsel has to the law firms that you need to have a diverse group working in our files, what are you left with? Why should it be important to you, law firms? How is it going to affect your bottom line if you no longer have a corporation standing over your shoulder telling you what to do? And that you have to get to the core, the root of the issue is that this is something that makes my law firm better. I create a better product. At the end of the day, I'm going to do a better job for my clients and so grow my business. So getting back to how diversity affects the bottom line, I'm thinking there has to be a motivator absent this hammer that's over the head of the law firms, although it helps. I think that's important for corporations to have that carrot stick. But I also think that at some point, we got to figure out a way to get to where he is. It's something that's innate. It's something that you're not forced to do. It's something that you realize that if I don't do it, my business will hurt.
Well, you allude to something that's important, and that is the next step in what our company is about to start doing, and that is measurable metrics. I won't give anything away, but there has to be some means whereby a determination is made whether or not firms are serious about this issue internally. And the way you find that out, let's face it, what is the thing that will tell you if they're serious or not? How much money they're spending, or how much of the billable hours are being worked by women and persons of color within their respective firms. If you have, I think, measurable metrics that you can revisit and determine by some objective means whether firms are actually serious about this, that equips you with the tools to take steps to make sure you can either get them where they need to be, or, as the call to action requires, alter or amend your relationship with those firms. I want to open up the floor for questions. We've had some involuntary participation from audience members, and I appreciate you all being good sport. But I want to open up the floor for questions, and then we will end with brief summaries from each of our panelists. So, yes, please. He's bringing a mic to you, if you don't mind, please.
Yes, my name is Keenan Grinnell, and I live in a much different world than all of you on the podium. I'm Vice President, Dean of Diversity at Conclave University, so I'm in higher education. So as I listen to you articulate how well people at the top within the organizations get it, how well do your people at the top, your CEOs, your major VPs, truly get it? to, say, presidents of colleges and universities, because I can tell you, we don't get it. You know, I'm sitting here listening to all the wonderful things that are happening within your respective organizations, but in higher education, there's a much more deeper negotiated settlement types of scenarios that allow diversity to either happen or not happen on campus. So, from the people who get it at the top, what message would they send to presidents of colleges and universities so we can get it and we can start having the type of success? So when there's a panel of CEOs from higher education like myself sitting up on that panel, we can have sort of a brag sheet like you all are basically, sharing with everybody this afternoon.
Here, I think the strongest and message that would be sent would be that even in this economy, as we sit, with many people clamoring for jobs and thinking that there's people out there, ready to come in and work, that their most significant, their most valuable asset is their current, their human capital. And they've got to do everything they can to invest in that and to make that asset work the best for them. And the way they do that is to make sure that they're, treating people properly and that they're making sure that they're embracing the best talents in the world, and that they go out and seek those talents. So I think that they would tell you, as the head of major corporations, that no matter what they have at their fingertips in terms of technology, in terms of resources across the world, we're 125,000 in 26 countries and 50 states, and yet the most important asset I think you have is human capital.
I think that my CEO would say that those guys are lucky that they are not accountable to their shareholders. Because in my mind, the shareholders in higher education are both current students and alumnus. And I will tell you, as an alumnus of the University of Oklahoma, that had, when I was there, a substantial African-American student body, and that has drastically fallen off. The way that Black alumni have addressed that is we have become financial stewards of the university. I got a call from the president of the university when on December 31st of this past year, he got a $30,000 check. So now he's very interested in what I think about diversity and scholarships and all those kinds of things. So the fact that a lot of times in higher education, minority alumni and students are not involved, they are the shareholders. So our CEO would say, as long as the shareholders are not raising sand, these guys are not going to do anything. Because when our shareholders get upset, trust me, I'm the one that gets all the letters that go to the CEO, and then I formulate the response for the company. So higher education presidents are not going to change until students and alumni decide they want changes.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that my current CEO is very good. Bob Malone just stepped down, as was mentioned earlier. What Bob would say to you is that there is no stereotype for the perfect person for a job, for a position, right? You're looking for, well, one, I guess he would explain, further that what he would mean by that is there are people of all, ethnicities, colors, orientations, who are just good, competent people, right? So you can't look at them as they come in the door and exclude them in your mind based on the package you see coming, right? Because you miss out on a lot of really good employees and innovation and just plain old great leaders, right? If you do that, and that would be exactly what my company would tell.
Any other questions? Well, why don't we do this? Let's spend a couple minutes with each of our panelists, give some closing thoughts, and then we'll wrap things up, starting from the end. Sure.
I would just say that I really think that there are people who believe that diversity is kind of a fad at the moment, and it's sooner or later going to fall away. But I would caution you against that idea for simply this reason. The women that leave your firms and the women, people of color who leave your firms, they're not going home crying in their mill